What's up, everybody? I'm George Mossey. Please say hello to my co-host, Kara. So, Darcey and Stacey, season 4, episode 13, the wedding finale has aired, 2-hour wedding finale. There's a lot to cover. So, I want to jump in because we were 2 weeks out from Papa Silva's stroke, and he seemed to be doing really well in this episode. And we were 2 days out from the wedding, and we got a really awesome surprise because, as you guys know, Stacey's sons have not made an appearance on the show since the show started, and we got
Yeah.
to meet Mateo on this episode, which was a crazy turn of events because we've always seen them on social media. There's been bloggers who would snatch a picture somehow, and that's all we got. But we actually got to meet Mateo and actually see his personality. He reminds me a lot of his mom, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we watched them go on a family fun day to the corn patch, but that's not where the drama started. The drama kind of started at the wedding rehearsal. So the rehearsal starts up and everybody arrives. Georgie walks in, and Debbie and Raina, who were visibly absent from the bachelor and bachelorette party, were kind of confused because they were under the impression that things with Georgie had went left and he wasn't even going to be physically at the wedding.
Yeah.
So they were a bit confused. So an explanation ensues, and they actually find out that Georgie is back on at the wedding as a guest, but then later on in the evening, Florian decides to drop the bomb and says, by the way, Georgie is back on as the best man. Because in Florian's mind, he's like, now that I know the secret that Darcey and Georgie have been hooking up, or hooked up. I don't want to say hooking up. That's not fair. It only happened
Yeah.
one time. He doesn't feel like he needs to protect her anymore because she isn't the victim. And he feels like he's been betrayed because he was withholding a secret from his wife, which he had no intentions of doing, which was very difficult for him to do because he loves his wife very much. And Stacey was pissed
Yeah.
off at the idea that there are being secrets held from her. And she said that the stuff that they went through with Darcey trying to include Georgie in the wedding, and they were trying to accommodate Darcey, they felt like it would only have been fair for her to be honest about it. Do you agree with them? Do you feel like Darcey's sleeping with Georgie is something she should have shared with other people? Because Twitter is divided.
Absolutely. I think Darcey should have told everybody because she was playing Georgie as the bad guy all along. Like he's stalking her, he's doing all this, making everybody, think Georgie's just lost his mind, which I'm not saying he hasn't, but I'm saying that she was really playing it out to be, you guys need to protect me because he just won't leave me alone. When on the other side, she's giving him all the reason to think she doesn't want to be left alone. So I understand Stacey feeling betrayed by Florian, kind of. But had Florian just said to Stacey, look, I just found out the other day. We haven't had a good opportunity to sit down and talk about anything. I think it would have been a little bit different. But when she said, you knew, and he says, yeah, well, it sounds like Florian knew all along, which he didn't.
That's true. Georgie actually told him, yeah, within a couple of days. And
Yeah.
obviously, with the wedding being so close, Florian felt it would be counterproductive to share that information. I feel like Florian probably would have, but even though Florian was like, I gave my word, I wouldn't have. I don't know. I feel like after the wedding was over and things can't really explode anymore, he would have felt a little more comfortable sharing that information because when you're trying to keep your wife happy, especially right before her dream wedding, there are some things that you're going to selectively withhold until after her special day, just out of respect to make sure that she gets the best day that she deserves. Speaking of that, so at the rehearsal dinner, with everyone there, Debbie, Rena, Leslie, Fatima, everyone is there, and Georgie decides to say, you guys think, like you said, I'm stalking her, and you guys think that I'm chasing her down. You guys should know that we hooked up. That was giving me the false hope of believing that there was still a chance. That's why I was still pursuing her. And Darcey is embarrassed, but at the same time, Stacey is pissed off because at this point, everybody feels like Darcey's been giving one story. Florian said nothing. Georgie has been doing what he thought was the right thing to do, and nobody is communicating with each other. So everyone at the table is confused. Debbie and Raina are very confused because they're literally Darcey's best friends and they don't know what's going on. And I feel like that says a lot. Darcey is keeping secrets from everybody about Georgie, which makes me believe that she was okay with what happened. And I don't know that she's really repulsed by him. I feel like it's just an act.
It is just an act. And I'm all for Georgie outing her at the wedding. I mean, he did it when it was just the friends and Michael Benz. I don't want to include him in the friend group because we all know how I feel him, but it was just the friends and him. And, they were attacking him just like uh, Debbie or Raina, whichever one said, she doesn't care about your feelings, sweetheart, or something to that effect. And then,
Mhm.
yeah, actually, here's why I think she does. So it needed to come out.
See, Darcey thinks that he was trying to sabotage her. And I don't feel like that was. I feel like he wanted people to understand his actions
Yeah.
because he had been labeled a crazy stalker, and
Yeah.
that's not fair because he was pursuing what he thought was a relationship that was butting back into reality. And in Darcey's mind, it wasn't. But when you give people mixed signals, you get that. You get someone,
Yeah.
if you feed a puppy or you feed a cat at your front door, they're going to come back the next day.
Yeah.
And Georgie felt like she's giving me something to show that something could still come from this. So I believe that
Yeah.
there's still growth here. And he was pursuing her, and she played it off as he was being aggressive and
Yep.
stalkery. And that's not fair. Like, I don't like the picture that she painted of him there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do like how after he brought it up, everybody stopped attacking him. Everyone was like, whoa, okay, I see where you're coming from. And that's what needed to happen.
So Darcey uninvited Zach to the wedding. How do you feel about that? Are you 100% on board with the fact that Zach didn't need to be in that mix? Because Georgie was very loose with telling everyone if he could about them hooking up. So do you feel like if Zach was there, he would have went out of his way to make sure Zach knew about it, even though it was pre-Zach? Like,
I,
how do you feel about that?
I think it would have turned into a fight, but I don't think Zach should have been invited to begin with. Zach has never met anybody there. He's not a boyfriend. They're casually dating. They're not in a committed relationship. They've just been on 2 dates, talk on the phone, text back and forth. He doesn't know Stacey. He doesn't know anybody. So to even insert him into that position is wrong. But then you insert him into that position and say, oh, yeah, by the way, this is my ex fiance who's still totally in love with me. And I just hooked up with him, by the way. It, but that's going to cause a lot of drama. And Georgie was not ready for that.
Yeah,
I
I feel like
would have,
a wedding is the wrong place to ensue those type of situations. Like, if you're gonna meet your current person is gonna meet your ex, it shouldn't be at a wedding, and there shouldn't be any drama surrounded by that. And speaking of drama, they turned to Papa Silva. So Florian decided to ask Michael Silva to help him with this situation with his wife because he wanted to smooth it over before the wedding because she felt betrayed and she felt like he was lying to her. And I know a lot of people will say it's not omission is not a lie, but a lot of people will say the opposite. This is
yeah,
like a debatable topic. So I'm glad that their dad was able to have a conversation with Stacey. And Florian said it best. He was like, they only listen to their dad, the only voice of reason in their life. And it's 100% true. Darcey and Stacey listen to the knowledge that their dad gives them. And you can see the respect that they
yeah,
put on anything that he says. So if you're gonna go to anyone and try to get through to any of the twins whatsoever, it's that guy. And he did it. He smoothed it over and he was like, I don't want to claim the wisdom. It's 2 failed divorces, but I do know how to keep your wife happy. And you have to learn empathy and respect each other.
yes. It was great that he brought him in. And also, even if Stacey didn't agree with it or whatever, she was trying to keep the stress level low for him. So he was definitely a key part in that. He comes in and he's just trying to give words of wisdom, even though he said it wasn't. It really was. But she wasn't going to argue with him, even if she felt he was so very wrong. She was like, okay,
So speaking of stress level, did you notice that the producers had that nerve and audacity to ask Stacey and Darcey's dad how he felt about Georgie and Darcey
that,
hooking up? Isn't
what?
that a sick thing to do, right? I
That's
was
horrible.
disgusted.
That's horrible. I don't care if my kids are in their 80s and I'm 150 and someone asks me how I felt about my kid doing something. I would be repulsed. I would just turn around and walk away.
I,
That's not
I feel like that. Yeah, that was such a fishing for drama thing for the producers to do. Like, have some respect.
yes.
First of all, this man had a stroke. Second
Yeah.
of all, like he said, I'm not happy, but that's none of my business. Like, please keep something sacred. And I felt for him in that moment. I was like, this man has to hear and see so much of his daughter's lives because of the show and the way that they live their lives. I just feel like keep his stress level down. Don't ask him
Yeah.
questions like that. That's like asking him something like that about one of his grandkids. Please have respect for the family.
Yep, I totally agree. But he handled it well, the way he said, I'm not happy, but it's none of my business. I feel like that kind of shut them down. There was no more questions about it, and they just go to a different screen, you know?
Yeah, you got to shut that type of stuff down.
Yeah.
So the wedding went off without a hitch. So Georgie was there and the wedding went amazing. There were some candles on the floor in the area and they were like really close to the dress. It made me a bit nervous,
I
but
going up.
yes, I was like, this is making me nervous. I don't like how narrow this aisle is, and there's fire, and it just made me
Yeah.
nervous. But everything looked amazing. Stacey looked amazing. Everything was great. Darcey even put her arm interlocked with Georgie. Did you catch that as she walked out? Yeah. So I was like,
Not as she walked away.
right. But
That
when
was,
they walked in, and I was like, see, there's a
yeah.
little bit of something there. But okay, so let's talk about this conversation that Georgie and Darcey had. So Darcey seemed to be convinced that she needed to close off this chapter. And she was like, I need to tell Georgie that he needs to let me go. He can't keep pursuing me. He can't keep trying to sabotage my life. And Georgie felt hurt, but is it really what she wants? Because if that was the truth, they never would have hooked up in Miami, right?
That is not what she wants. She wants to be with Georgie 100%. She's still doing it because that's what everybody else wants her to do. If she really wanted that, number one, she wouldn't have went outside with him to have this talk when he suddenly felt the to talk. Number two, she would not have turned around and gave the look back like the Disney princesses do for 20 minutes waiting for her Prince Charming to run after her. And he just stood there. But they've got to be talking at least.
I saw an article in Touch that was about them being back together. I didn't get to read it yet, so I can't speak on that yet, but I need to see what's going on with that.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about Debbie and Raina really quick because when they arrived, they had Flask and there were a lot of good commentary for the wedding. And I feel like they're the two people that you invite to the party. They were the life of the party. And did you notice that Darcey's dad and Debbie were dancing a little dirty at the wedding? I was taken back by that. Did you expect that from Papa Silva?
Not at all. Not even with their mom. I didn't expect it, let alone from a friend. That blew my mind. But he was happy and he looked like his heart was doing fine. It looked like his hands were doing fine. He seemed pleased.
I am happy that Papa Silva is okay and he enjoyed himself at that wedding. That was a lot. I've never seen that side of him. So I'm just happy that he was happy and enjoying his daughter's wedding. And this wedding narrowly escaped drama. I feel like there was so much that could have ensued and happened, but they narrowly escaped it. And I feel like everything went off with the hit. So I know season 5 is going to have to give us some more information on this Georgie and Darcey situation. And I know, like you said, there's something else going on because she disinvites Zach to the wedding. And maybe that's going to be the end of Zach, because at the end of the one season, her and Georgie broke up on the tell-all. And then the very first episode of the next season, he was ready to propose to her. So I feel like that might be the kind of jump that we go from season 4 into season 5, but we're just going to have to wait and see. But I just want to say congratulations for the second time to Stacey and Florian. This wedding was amazing. They actually had their friends and family, their very intimate wedding. We remember their first wedding 3 years ago, back in COVID, in their apartment. And I know that this was what she wanted. She wanted to have the people she loved there. And I'm so glad. I even saw her other son there as well. Very quick. I know he wasn't supposed to be on camera, but there was a quick flash and he was there. So I'm just so happy that she got to have all of her friends and family and loved ones there. Congratulations to her.
Yeah. Congratulations to them for sure.
All right, guys, that's it. That's a wrap on the Darcey and Stacey season 4 podcast. I'm George Mossey. This is the George Mossey Show. Thank you so much for my co-host Cara for joining me for these recaps, and thank you to Darcey and Stacey and the family for sharing your lives with us once again. We really appreciate it. We enjoy watching it. I'm George Mossey. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms at George Mossey, georgemossey.com, and anywhere you get your podcast. Please follow my co-host Cara too. Her links are right here at the bottom. Talk to you guys really soon.